Have you checked the pennies hiding in your change jar lately? Most people glance at a 1985 Lincoln cent, see a single penny, and move on without a second thought. But what if one overlooked coin carried a story so unusual that collectors would fight to own it? Imagine discovering that a coin resting quietly in an old coffee can, a forgotten piggy bank, or the bottom of a kitchen drawer could become the centerpiece of an extraordinary collection. Before you dismiss that possibility, stay with me, because one tiny detail could change everything you thought you knew about the 1985 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Every year, millions of Lincoln cents are produced, and the overwhelming majority are worth exactly 1 cent. That is why so many remarkable discoveries begin with ordinary people. No professional treasure hunter. No millionaire investor. Just someone curious enough to look a little closer. The 1985 Lincoln cent, struck at the Denver Mint, appears common at first glance, yet hidden among countless ordinary examples are a handful of extraordinary pieces that have captured the attention of serious collectors for decades. The secret is never the date alone. It is the condition, the strike, and most importantly, the rare minting errors that can transform an everyday penny into a collector's dream. Suddenly, a coin that most people ignore becomes something everyone wants. Now imagine this. You're cleaning out an old toolbox that belonged to your grandfather. You find a handful of pennies coated with years of dust. You almost toss them into a coin-counting machine. Then something tells you to stop. That tiny decision could be the difference between spending a single cent and discovering something truly remarkable. Here's where the story becomes fascinating. Some 1985 Lincoln cents display dramatic off-center strikes, while others reveal double details, die cracks, die chips, or broad strike errors that make them stand out from normal circulation coins. Certain examples show striking abnormalities so unusual that collectors eagerly compete whenever they appear on the market. These aren't everyday finds. They are the exceptions that fuel excitement across the numismatic world. But before you start searching every penny in your house, here's an important reality check. Most 1985 pennies are not rare. The coins that command extraordinary prices are typically those with exceptional mint errors or those preserved in nearly flawless mint condition. That combination is incredibly difficult to find, and that's exactly why collectors pay attention. Think about it this way. If every 1985 penny were valuable, none of them would be. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the tiny letter beneath the date on your pennies? Funny how something smaller than a grain of rice can suddenly seem very important, isn't it? As collectors continue searching for elite examples, competition grows stronger every year. High-grade specimens certified by respected grading services often become the stars of major auctions because perfect preservation becomes increasingly rare as decades pass. Every scratch, every fingerprint, every trip through a cash register reduces the chances of finding another outstanding survivor. That scarcity creates opportunity. Some reports and online discussions have fueled excitement by suggesting that exceptionally rare examples with unique characteristics could reach astonishing values, with sensational claims approaching $785,000 for extraordinary specimens under exceptional circumstances. While such headlines generate enormous interest, actual values always depend on authentication, condition, rarity, collector demand, and verified auction results. That is why professional grading remains one of the most important steps before assuming any coin has extraordinary value. And that brings us to the biggest mistake people make. Thousands of potentially collectible coins are cleaned every year because owners believe shiny means valuable. In reality, cleaning usually damages the original surface and can significantly reduce collector interest. Ironically, that dull brown appearance many people dislike may actually be exactly what experienced collectors hope to see. Surprised? Imagine polishing away thousands of dollars with a paper towel. Instead, handle any unusual coin carefully by its edges, store it safely, and examine it under good lighting. Look for doubling in the lettering, unusual strike characteristics, missing design elements, off-center images, or other obvious minting anomalies. Even if you don't discover a major rarity, Learning how to recognize these features puts you ahead of countless people who never bother to check it all. History has shown that remarkable discoveries often happen when least expected. Valuable coins have appeared in inherited collections, forgotten jars, estate sales, flea markets, and ordinary pocket change. Every incredible story begins with someone paying attention while everyone else walks past opportunity. That is why the hunt itself becomes addictive. Each handful of pennies represents possibility. Most will be ordinary. A few will be interesting. And perhaps one could completely surprise you. So before your next handful of change disappears into a vending machine, pause for just a moment. Look for the 1985 D mint mark. Study the details. Compare the lettering. Examine the surfaces. Ask questions. Stay curious. Because remarkable discoveries rarely announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to notice. The next extraordinary Lincoln cent may already be sitting in your collection, quietly waiting for its moment to be recognized. And wouldn't it be incredible if the penny everyone else ignored became the one coin you never forgot? Have you ever emptied your pocket, glanced at a worn penny, and tossed it into a jar without a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking coins was hiding a story that could completely change the way you look at money forever? Across America, collectors search through mountains of pocket change every single day because they know an incredible secret. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones everyone else ignores. And among the coins that continue to spark curiosity is the 1986 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark. While millions were produced, a tiny number displaying extraordinary characteristics have become the kind of discoveries collectors dream about. The difference between an ordinary cent and an extraordinary one can be so small that most people never notice it. Imagine finding a coin that has traveled through grocery stores, gas stations, coffee shops, and countless wallets before finally landing in your hand. That simple copper-colored penny may have witnessed decades of American history, yet its greatest story might still be waiting to be told. That's exactly why experienced collectors never judge a coin by its face value. The 1986 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. During that period, billions of pennies entered circulation, making them one of the most common coins Americans handled every day. At first glance, that sounds like terrible news for anyone hoping to discover something valuable. After all, how could something produced in such enormous numbers ever become rare? Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Collectors aren't searching for ordinary examples. They're searching for extraordinary survivors and unusual minting mistakes that escaped quality control decades ago. Those are the coins capable of attracting serious attention in today's competitive numismatic market. Before you dismiss the pennies sitting in your drawer, ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually looked at them? Most people never do. That's exactly why remarkable discoveries continue to happen. Now, let's talk about the details that can separate a common coin from an exceptional one. Specialists carefully inspect the surfaces for strong original luster, razor-sharp design details, and virtually flawless preservation. Coins that appear untouched after decades are incredibly difficult to find because most entered circulation immediately after leaving the mint. Then come the fascinating mint errors. A dramatic off-center strike, a double die showing noticeable doubling in the lettering, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or other unusual production mistakes can transform an otherwise ordinary penny into something collectors eagerly pursue. Even subtle differences in strike quality can dramatically affect desirability when combined with outstanding condition. Here's something that surprises many beginners. A penny doesn't have to look old to be valuable. In fact, modern coins with spectacular errors often generate enormous excitement because they're so unexpected. It's almost like finding a winning lottery ticket hiding inside your spare change. Not impossible. Just incredibly uncommon. And yes, that brings us to the number everyone wants to hear. Stories continue to circulate about exceptional 1986 no mint mark Lincoln cents commanding astonishing prices, with claims reaching as high as $786,000 for unique examples possessing extraordinary characteristics, elite grading, and exceptional rarity. Those headline-making figures represent remarkable outliers rather than ordinary circulating coins, but they demonstrate how much collectors will pay when every important factor aligns perfectly. That should make you pause. What if you've been spending coins without ever checking them? Think about that for a moment. Thousands of pennies pass through American hands every year. Most become forgotten almost instantly. But every now and then, someone notices something different. That moment changes everything. Of course, excitement should always be matched with careful examination. Serious collectors evaluate every important detail before assigning significant value. Professional grading plays a crucial role because authenticity, preservation, eye appeal, and rarity all influence market demand. Two pennies minted in the same year can have dramatically different values simply because one has exceptional quality while the other spent decades in heavy circulation. Here's a funny thought. Some people spend more time choosing a cup of coffee than inspecting a coin that could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Strange priorities, wouldn't you say? Yet that's exactly what happens every single day. The hunt continues because remarkable discoveries never completely disappear. Estate collections are opened. Forgotten piggy banks are emptied. Old family jars sitting on dusty shelves suddenly receive a second look. Every one of those moments creates another opportunity for an overlooked treasure to finally emerge. If you decide to examine your own 1986 Lincoln Pennies, take your time. Look carefully at the date, the lettering, Lincoln's portrait, and every detail on both sides. Search for doubling, unusual strike characteristics, missing design elements, or anything that looks different from a typical example. Compare multiple coins whenever possible because differences become much easier to recognize. Remember, patience often rewards the careful observer. Many legendary discoveries happen because someone refused to rush. The greatest collectors understand that finding valuable coins isn't simply about luck. It's about knowledge, persistence, and paying attention when everyone else walks away. That's what separates casual coin holders from true treasure hunters. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a cash register or the bottom of a drawer, consider what might be hiding in plain sight. Your next remarkable discovery probably won't announce itself with flashing lights. It'll look exactly like every other penny until you notice the tiny detail everyone else missed. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Extraordinary opportunities rarely arrive looking extraordinary. Sometimes they arrive disguised as a single forgotten Lincoln cent, quietly waiting for the right person to recognize its hidden potential. Have you ever dumped a handful of pennies into a jar without a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking coins was quietly holding the power to change your financial future? It sounds unbelievable, but every year collectors discover coins that most people overlook, and some of those discoveries have led to astonishing payouts. Today, we're taking a closer look at the 1987 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark, a coin that millions of Americans have handled without realizing what they might have had. While the average example is worth only face value, certain rare error varieties and exceptional specimens have captured the attention of serious collectors, with some extraordinary Lincoln cents selling for remarkable prices. The question is simple. Could one of your old pennies be hiding a valuable surprise? The story begins in 1987, when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents to meet everyday demand. Pennies from Philadelphia carried no mint mark during that period, which means a 1987 penny without a mint mark is completely normal. Yet within that enormous production run, tiny differences created during the minting process transformed a handful of coins into objects of fascination. That's the part most people never hear about. Imagine two pennies sitting side by side on your kitchen table. They look almost identical. One buys absolutely nothing beyond a single cent. The other could send collectors into a bidding war. That's how dramatic the world of rare coins can be. So what separates an ordinary coin from one that collectors dream about? Condition is the first key. A 1987 Lincoln cent that somehow escaped circulation with blazing original luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no imperfections can command impressive premiums in the marketplace. Professional grading services carefully inspect every surface under magnification, and the difference between one grade and the next can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But that's only the beginning. Now imagine discovering something even more exciting. What if your penny displays an unusual minting error? Suddenly the conversation changes completely. Collectors search relentlessly for dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die breaks, retained cuts, double dies, repunched design elements, and striking anomalies that escaped quality control. These mistakes weren't supposed to happen, making them highly desirable when authenticated. Here's something funny. Most people panic when they see a manufacturing mistake. Coin collectors practically throw a celebration. That's because mistakes can create rarity, and rarity often creates demand. Before you rush to your coin jar, there's another important detail. Not every unusual-looking penny is valuable. Damage that happened after the coin entered circulation usually doesn't increase its value. Scratches, corrosion, dents, cleaning, polishing, and environmental damage often reduce collector interest. That's why careful examination is essential before assuming you found something extraordinary. Now let's raise the stakes. Imagine opening an old family coin collection that has been sitting untouched for decades. Inside is a roll of 1987 pennies wrapped shortly after leaving the bank. Every coin still shines with original mint brilliance. Among them, one displays a spectacular error never noticed by previous owners. That single discovery could become the highlight of an entire collection. Stories like these continue to inspire collectors across America. This is exactly why experienced numismatists never ignore common dates. They know valuable treasures sometimes hide in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to recognize them. Here's a question. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket instead of spending them automatically? Most people never do. And that's exactly why remarkable discoveries continue to happen. The excitement surrounding Lincoln cents isn't built on fantasy. It's built on decades of documented collector interest, fascinating mint errors, and competitive auctions involving genuinely rare examples. The market rewards authenticity, exceptional preservation, and significant minting varieties, not simply old age. That brings us to one of the biggest myths surrounding this coin. You may have heard dramatic claims suggesting every 1987 no-mint mark penny is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. That's simply not true. Ordinary circulated examples are extremely common. However, authenticated major error coins or extraordinary high-grade specimens can be worth substantially more than face value, and the rarest certified examples attract intense competition among advanced collectors. That's why authentication matters so much. Professional grading not only confirms whether a coin is genuine but also documents its condition and identifies valuable mint errors. Without expert evaluation, it's impossible to know whether you found something truly significant or simply an interesting-looking penny. Here's another thought that might surprise you. Some of today's valuable collectibles were once dismissed as ordinary pocket change. Generations ago, people spent coins that modern collectors would eagerly compete to own. History has a funny way of rewarding those who preserve what others ignore. So before you empty that change jar into a coin-counting machine, slow down. Examine every 1987 Lincoln cent without a mint mark under good lighting. Look carefully at Lincoln's portrait, the date, the lettering, and the reverse design. Search for doubling, striking abnormalities, unusual shapes, or features that appear dramatically different from ordinary examples. Handle promising coins only by their edges and store them safely until they can be evaluated. Your next discovery may not happen at a coin show. It could happen in your kitchen. It could happen while cleaning a drawer. It could happen when opening an old piggy bank that's been forgotten for years. That's the enduring magic of coin collecting. Every ordinary moment carries the possibility of an extraordinary discovery. The next penny you examine may still be worth only 1 cent. Or it might become the coin that changes the way you look at pocket change forever. Have you checked the pennies hiding in your pocket lately? Most people see a single cent and think it has no value at all. They toss it into jars, leave it in cup holders, or forget it inside old drawers. But what if one ordinary-looking 1988 Lincoln penny could change the way you look at loose change forever? What if a coin that millions of Americans have handled without a second glance held a secret that serious collectors are willing to pay extraordinary money to own? Before you spend another penny, you may want to listen carefully, because one tiny detail could make all the difference. The 1988 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark is one of those fascinating coins that continues to capture the attention of collectors across the United States. Since no mint mark means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, millions were produced. At first glance, that sounds like the end of the story. How could a common coin ever become valuable? The answer lies in something that separates ordinary coins from extraordinary discoveries. Every great treasure starts with an ordinary object that everyone else overlooked. Imagine cleaning out an old coffee can filled with pennies collected over decades. Most people would count them, roll them, and head straight to the bank. A collector sees something completely different. Every coin becomes a mystery waiting to be solved. Every date becomes another chance to uncover an unexpected rarity. Now here's something surprising. The highest prices are never paid simply because of the year printed on the coin. Collectors pay for rarity, condition, and unusual minting characteristics. That means the right combination of features can transform an ordinary-looking cent into an unforgettable collector's prize. But don't rush to the nearest coin jar just yet. The most exciting part is still ahead. The first thing experts examine is the overall condition. A 1988 penny that somehow escaped circulation for decades can look almost as bright as the day it left the mint. Strong original luster, sharp details in Lincoln's hair, crisp lettering, and a clean reverse all increase collector interest dramatically. Then comes the hunt for minting errors. This is where excitement begins. During the minting process, machines operating at incredible speed occasionally produced mistakes. Some coins show dramatic doubling on letters or numbers. Others display off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, or other unusual characteristics created during production. These errors are often what transform an otherwise common coin into something collectors compete to own. Have you ever looked at a penny through a magnifying glass? Most people haven't. That's exactly why hidden treasures continue to be discovered decades after they were minted. And here's a funny thought. Somewhere, someone probably bought a cup of coffee years ago using a coin that would make today's collectors lose sleep. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? That's exactly what keeps millions of collectors searching. Now let's talk about one of the biggest reasons stories like this spread across the collecting community. Spectacular auction headlines often feature rare Lincoln cents selling for astonishing amounts. These remarkable sales usually involve exceptional preservation, certified grading, and significant minting errors that exist on only a handful of surviving examples. Some reports and online discussions have claimed that an extraordinary 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent could reach values approaching $788,000 under exceptional circumstances involving an extremely rare error and elite certified condition. While figures like these represent extraordinary cases rather than typical market prices, they continue to inspire collectors to examine every penny before spending it. That raises an important question. Could another undiscovered example still be hiding inside an old family collection? No one knows. That's what makes the search so addictive. Families pass jars of coins from one generation to the next without realizing what may be inside. Estate sales, forgotten piggy banks, inherited collections, and old dresser drawers continue producing remarkable discoveries every year. History has shown that valuable coins are often found in the most ordinary places. As the search continues, knowledge becomes your greatest advantage. Start by checking the date carefully. Confirm that it reads 1988 with no mint mark beneath the date. Examine both sides under bright lighting. Look closely for unusual doubling, strange lettering, cracks running through the design, or anything that appears different from a normal coin. Compare it with another 1988 penny if possible. Even subtle differences can attract expert attention. If your coin appears unusually sharp or displays a possible error, avoid cleaning it. That's one of the fastest ways to reduce collectible value. Professional collectors prefer original surfaces, even if they show natural aging. The next step is authentication. Independent grading services evaluate authenticity, preservation, and overall quality, giving collectors greater confidence when buying and selling important coins. But here's the real lesson. The greatest treasure isn't simply finding one valuable penny. It's developing the habit of paying attention while everyone else walks past opportunity. Think about how many pennies change hands across America every single day. Most disappear into cash registers without another thought. Yet every now and then, someone notices a tiny detail that everyone else missed. That single moment changes everything. Perhaps your next handful of change contains nothing unusual. Or perhaps it contains the coin collectors have been searching for. You'll never know unless you look. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent reminds us that extraordinary value can hide inside ordinary objects. It proves that patience, curiosity, and knowledge often reward those willing to look beyond appearances. The next time someone tells you a penny is only worth 1 cent, smile quietly. Sometimes history writes a very different story, and sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest surprise. Before another penny slips through your fingers forever, take a closer look. Your greatest discovery may already be waiting in your pocket.